My mother demands I give both my kidneys to my golden child brother. My mother showed up at my apartment with a manila folder and told me I was going to save my brother's life, whether I wanted to or not. The tests came back, she said, pushing past me into my living room. You're a perfect match for Dylan. Both kidneys. We need to schedule the surgery. I stared at her. Both kidneys? Mom, that would kill me. Don't be dramatic. You'd go on dialysis. Dylan's too weak for that. You're young and healthy. You'd adapt. Dylan destroyed his kidneys with 10 years of cocaine and alcohol. Started at 17 when mom handed him her credit card and told him to enjoy college. By 27, both kidneys were failing. Doctors warned him at 22. He laughed and did another line. I was the one who got kicked out at 16 for getting a C in calculus. Dylan crashed mom's car twice while high and got a new BMW. I'll give him one kidney, I said carefully. That's what living donors do. One kidney. Mom's face twisted. One isn't enough. His body is compromised. The transplant team said he needs both for the best chance. Something about her certainty felt wrong. I worked as a medical administrator. I knew transplant protocols. Which doctor told you that? I asked. Dr. Reeves, the head of the transplant team. That night, I called the hospital and asked to speak with Dr. Reeves's office. The nurse who answered sounded confused when I explained my question. Ma'am, no living donor gives both kidneys. That's not medically possible. The donor would need dialysis for life. No transplant board in the country would approve that. My hands went cold, but my mother said, I don't know what your mother said, but it didn't come from us. Mom had lied. She'd invented medical recommendations to pressure me into destroying my own health for Dylan. When I confronted her, she didn't even flinch. Fine, I exaggerated, but Dylan needs this. You have 2 healthy kidneys and he has none. How can you be so selfish? I offered him one. One isn't good enough for my son. I'm your daughter. She looked at me like I'd said something absurd. Dylan has always needed more support. You've always been fine on your own. The harassment started the next day. Mom called my boss claiming I was having a mental breakdown. Called my landlord saying I was unstable. Called my boyfriend and told him I was letting my brother die for spite. She showed up at my office 3 times. Security had to escort her out twice. Dylan finally called me himself. First time in 2 years. Mom says you're refusing to help me, he said. I offered one kidney. That's what donors give. But I want both. You don't even use them. You're just being petty because mom and dad loved me more. He actually said that. Out loud, like it was a reasonable argument. You destroyed your own kidneys, Dylan. I'm not destroying mine to fix your mistakes, and I hope you can live with yourself when I'm dead. He hung up. I hired a lawyer and got a restraining order against my mother. The judge reviewed her text messages, 47 in 1 week, escalating from guilt trips to threats to show up at my workplace again. This is harassment, the judge said flatly. Your mother is prohibited from contacting you for 1 year. Mom's face crumpled in the courtroom. She turned to my father, who sat silent in the back row, and whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, our daughter is letting Dylan die. Dad didn't look at her. He just stared at his hands. 2 months later, Dylan got matched with a deceased donor. The surgery was successful. He'd need anti-rejection medication for life, but he'd live. Mom never apologized. Never acknowledged that she'd lied about the doctors, harassed me at work, or demanded I sacrifice my health for a brother who'd never sacrificed anything for anyone. But Dad called. I should have said something years ago, he told me. I watched her treat you differently your whole life and I never stopped it. I'm sorry, it wasn't enough. 30 years of silence couldn't be erased with 1 phone call, but it was something. I kept both my kidneys, I kept my health, I kept my job and my apartment and my boyfriend, who held me while I cried and never once suggested I should give in. Dylan is alive because a stranger died and gave him a second chance he didn't earn. I'm alive because I finally stopped trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it.